I was sitting at my desk at work when my phone lit up with a message, and it was from Ben. And my heart sank. Not because it was from Ben, but because of what it said. One of our speakers who was due to perform at our storytelling night that night was going to have to drop out because of a COVID scare. The theme of the event was siblings, and we had already kind of struggled to find enough speakers for it. We had 4, and now we were going to be dropping down to 3. But it was just in 3 hours' time. People had already bought tickets for it, the other speakers had prepared what they were going to say, and there was a possibility that someone from Humanities DC, the organization that had just given us our first ever grant, was going to be there. We couldn't cancel. I was going to be the MC at, or one of the MCs at the event that night, and it's something I'd done before. I was quite familiar with storytelling events. We'd started doing them at Camma DC in 2018, and over the years I've heard more than 100 people share their stories. I've heard sad stories, funny ones, dramatic ones, inspiring ones. I knew that there wasn't just one way of telling a great story, but I'd never thought of sharing one myself before. It wasn't really that I was nervous about speaking in public, but I thought, am I really the person to do it? The first reason is that I hadn't thought of myself as an immigrant. I moved to DC from the UK in 2014 on a student visa for grad school. And since then, I had been living on temporary work visas. These were explicitly non-immigrant visas. There was a stamp in my passport that said the expiration date, and I knew that I would have to go back home at that point. That was changing, though. I had married my American husband the year before, and so we had begun the green card process. Now, it's a very long and obscure process, but I thought that as long as I hadn't really screwed up something on one of the forms, it was probably a matter of when, not if, it came through. So I was becoming an immigrant. But my other hesitation was about my reasons for coming to the US in the first place. You know, at Camma, we have worked with refugees who have moved here fleeing conflict or persecution. There are other people who moved here for opportunities that their countries of birth didn't offer them. And there are other people who moved here to support family back home. I didn't move here for any of those reasons. I wasn't fleeing anything. I was very privileged to be born in a country that gave me a lot of opportunities. And I certainly wasn't supporting my family back home. I moved here because I thought it would be interesting to live in the United States, and I thought it would be fun. I moved here for selfish reasons. But it was 3 hours until the event was due to begin, and so after thinking these things through, I said, okay, I'll do it. I remember as the event was starting, I was looking down at my phone, and I'd been typing notes in the back of the Uber on the way over to the venue. I remember there was a really loud Peruvian band playing outside, and people were starting to file in, including my husband, who was sitting there on the front row. And he hadn't heard me articulate some of the things that I was about to say. What I said exactly is a little bit of a blur, but it was about my siblings. I have 3 big sisters, and the first thing I think of when I think of my siblings is guilt. I have missed all of their birthdays. I have missed all of their celebrations, all of their heartbreak. I have 4 young nieces. I have never babysat any of them. I have certainly not pulled my weight when it comes to my parents. Ultimately, I chose all of this. I chose to move here, and I chose to miss those things. But I also talked about some more positive things. How even though an ocean might divide us, every Saturday morning we speak together on WhatsApp. Every time I go home, it's as if I've never been away. And when I do things like this tonight, I get bombarded with messages of good luck from them. Speaking forced me to process and articulate some of these things for the first time. I am an immigrant. My green card came through. And I do have some shared experiences with other people who have chosen to leave their family and friends behind and build a new life. It has been a really wonderful experience volunteering with CAMA for the last 6 years. And I've always thought that there is value in providing a platform for immigrants to share their stories. But now, as I hand on the baton, I can say, I don't just think it, I've seen it here tonight, and I felt it for myself.